I never thought that a simple chore would become a turning point in my life. One morning, I opened my daughter's closet to tidy up the space she left behind when she went off to college. I had set aside the task for weeks, telling myself it could wait. But this particular day, I found myself staring at that midnight blue prom dress, the same one she had worn a few months earlier with such confidence. Sequins dotted its bodice, dancing even in the dim light of the closet. The sight caught me off guard, more than I was ready to admit. At 52 years old, my biggest worries lately had revolved around whether my creaky knee could handle the walk from the parking lot at work, or whether my wife and I were saving enough for retirement. My daughter, Emily, had just started her freshman year in college, an exciting moment for her, while for me and my wife, Anna, it had kicked off this odd, half-empty nest period. We were proud of Emily, though adjusting to the quieter house took time. That day, I closed the closet door to dust the top shelf, but a nudge of impulse guided my gaze back toward the dress. I stopped what I was doing and slid it carefully from its hanger. My heart pounded with each movement, a strange sense of anticipation building in my chest. My palms felt clammy as I held the dress against my body, noticing how the fabric felt strangely inviting. The memory that surfaced was distant, yet vivid. I was 12, experimenting with my mother's clothes when nobody was home, feeling a rush of nervous exhilaration until I heard footsteps in the hallway. The shame that followed was immediate and strong enough to lock that side of me away for decades. Yet here I stood, in the privacy of my daughter's room, alone in a house that felt echoing and still. My gaze lingered on the door, as though I expected someone to burst in any second. I listened intently to the silence. Then I slipped off my t-shirt and shorts, leaving them on the bed before carefully stepping into the midnight blue gown. My torso fit snugly against the bodice, and I managed to zip it halfway before the zipper caught around my mid-back. I reached awkwardly, struggling for a moment, but then it slid all the way up. I faced the mirror on my daughter's dresser. There, framed in reflection, was a figure I barely recognized, and yet, in a strange way, felt like I had known for a very long time. My first fleeting thought was how unexpectedly natural it felt. The satiny material hugged my body, the hem brushing just above my ankles. My reflection breathed slowly, eyes wide with wonder. There was no sense of performance or costume, no comedic moment. There was just quiet wonder. Within seconds, though, a rush of worry set in. I wondered if my wife would return home early, if she might call out from the living room. My pulse throbbed in my ears, yet I couldn't bring myself to slip out of the dress. I stayed like that for a minute, soaking in the electric mix of calm and anxiety. Then I forced myself to unzip, fold the dress carefully, and put it back on the hanger. I adjusted it exactly as I found it, refusing to leave any trace I had ever touched it. I spent the rest of the day in a haze, as if I'd opened a box of old letters and discovered secrets about myself. Over dinner, Anna asked, "Are you okay? You seem a bit quiet, thinking about Emily." I forced a small laugh. "Yeah, missing her a bit. It's strange without her here." Anna nodded. "It does feel odd, but she's doing great at school. We should be happy for her." We chatted briefly about Emily's classes, how she was adjusting to living in the dorm. Anna eventually cleared our plates, and I offered to help with the dishes, though she insisted she had it handled. I lingered anyway. My thoughts kept wandering, but I said nothing else that evening. Later, as we prepared for bed, I couldn't stop picturing that dress. I recalled how it felt against my skin, how it had stirred something deep. I drifted off to sleep with a tangle of questions swirling in my mind. The following weekend, Anna visited her sister in another city. I was supposed to handle basic chores and maybe watch a game or two on TV. But once I had the house to myself, a restlessness crept over me. I tried to watch football, but I kept shifting in my seat, turning the volume up and down, my thoughts drifting to the closed bedroom door across the hall. After an hour of half watching the game, I caught myself pacing in the hallway. Finally, I padded upstairs, heart hammering. I opened Emily's closet and stared at the dress for a good 30 seconds, indecision tightening my chest. Did I really want to risk feeling confused or ashamed if I tried it on again? Maybe it was simpler just to forget the entire moment, but I realized I couldn't turn my back on something so powerful. I removed the dress from its hanger and slipped it on as easily as before. This time I stayed there longer, gazing into the same mirror. I felt a sense of calm. The reflection no longer startled me. It was almost like greeting a familiar presence. I stood there, letting my arms rest gently at my sides, breathing slowly. The memory of that day at age 12 returned with more detail. Rummaging through my mother's closet, picking out a blouse, then fumbling into a skirt that was slightly too big for me. How I'd frozen in panic when I heard footsteps in the hallway. Back then, I'd managed to change in time, but the fear stayed in my bones for days. I never told a soul. Now, decades later, I left that lonely teenage moment behind and let my mind settle on the present. The quiet house enveloped me, and a subtle grin surfaced. No footfalls in the hallway, no surprise knocks on the door. Just me, in a garment that let me explore a side of myself that had been dormant. After a few minutes, I forced myself to put everything back. My heart felt lighter, but also riddled with questions. Though I wavered between relief and anxiety, I couldn't deny that something about this had its own sense of rightness. That night, I hardly slept. My body felt warm and restless, my mind playing and replaying the day's moments. The next week, at my job in the financial department of a small tech company, I found it hard to focus. I had always been known for my neat spreadsheets and thorough reporting, but I made little mistakes that Monday morning, misplacing a couple of decimal points, needing to correct them after a coworker spotted the errors. Nancy, who worked at the desk near mine, asked if I was feeling all right. I apologized, blaming a bad night's sleep. Lunchtime arrived, and I slipped out to the courtyard, carrying a sandwich but no real appetite. Another coworker, Tim, happened to come by, munching on a sub from the deli around the corner. "Everything good?" Tim asked, his brow furrowed. We'd known each other for a few years, though I wouldn't say we were close friends. Still, he had a knack for reading people. "Yeah, just stuff on my mind," I replied, doing my best to sound casual. "Kid at college, right?" he said with a sympathetic nod. "It's an adjustment, isn't it?" I let out a slow breath and nodded. "Yeah, it's different, all right." He patted my shoulder, then got up to take a phone call, leaving me to brood. The relief was momentary, because an overwhelming urge bubbled up inside me to speak about what was really occupying my mind. Yet I had no words to explain it, at least not to a coworker in a lunch courtyard. So I kept my silence, trying to concentrate on the final bites of my sandwich, though it tasted like cardboard. When I got back to my desk, I attempted to regroup, plowing through tasks until closing. As soon as I got home, I prepared dinner with Anna. Simple steaks and potatoes. She told me the latest updates about Emily's phone call that afternoon, how she was excited about a new friend she made in her history class. I asked a few questions, feigning casual interest, but part of me felt a pang of guilt. My mind was on that dress, on the thrill and comfort it evoked. I struggled to banish these thoughts, but they lingered at the edge of every conversation. That Friday, an unexpected opportunity arose. Emily called to say she was coming home for the weekend. My mixture of anticipation and panic was immediate. Would I risk wearing the dress while she was home? Absolutely not. But I also worried that she might notice I'd disturbed it in her closet. Over the past few days, I'd tried it on multiple times. I'd been diligent about returning it carefully, so hopefully no detail was out of place. She arrived late in the evening, carrying a duffel bag and wearing a huge grin. Anna greeted her with a long hug, while I stood off to the side, trying to keep my own guilt from showing. Emily was, as always, cheerful and full of chatter about college life. I felt a father's pride warm my chest, reminded that she was forging a new path in the world. But I couldn't ignore that swirl of tension. Did I feel shame? Fear she might find out? Or something else? Over dinner, she mentioned that she might volunteer at a local community event on Saturday, so she had to find something nice to wear. A sharp jolt tightened my stomach, but I forced my face to remain neutral. Had she come home for that dress? That night, Emily went straight to her room. I lingered nervously in the living room, the television muted while Anna dozed on the couch. I could hear Emily rummaging in her closet. My pulse pounded, making me feel as though I was an intruder in my own house. For a moment, I considered heading upstairs to see if she had questions, but I remained on the couch. All the possible scenarios, her walking downstairs, holding the dress, asking why there were faint wrinkles at the waist, played in my mind. Instead, I heard nothing but the rustle of clothing. Eventually, the sound subsided and her door closed. The next morning, I knocked softly on her door to see if she was ready for breakfast. She cracked the door open, wearing a sweater and jeans. No mention of the dress. I swallowed back my nerves and forced a smile, leading her to the kitchen. Anna was flipping pancakes, and we fell into familiar chatter about her classes. It felt good to share that time together again, as though everything was normal. Emily left after breakfast for the volunteer event. Once she was gone, Anna asked me to help bring some boxes down from the attic. While we carted them to the living room, she paused. "I'm so glad Emily's home," she said. "But you're so quiet. Are you sure you're okay?" I gave a half-hearted smile. "Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I'm just a little overwhelmed by everything changing. I'll be fine." She considered me for a moment. "If you ever need to talk, I'm here. You know that, right?" "I know," I answered. I kissed her forehead, grateful, but unable to put my swirling thoughts into words. At the volunteer event, Emily ended up wearing an old blouse and skirt, opting not to use her prom dress. I felt a flicker of relief when she returned that evening. She looked tired but content, telling Anna and me about her day. As she spoke, she rested an arm on the back of a dining chair, her ponytail slightly undone from hours of volunteering at the stalls. She described sorting clothes for a donation drive, handing out leaflets, and chatting with people in the community. That night, she checked her closet once more before going to bed, presumably looking for a sweatshirt. My nerves jolted again, and I had to stand by the bathroom mirror to disguise the tension in my face. But no dramatic confrontation followed. Soon, Emily closed her bedroom door. An hour later, she texted me a heart emoji from behind that door, probably because she could sense I was on edge about her returning to college so soon. I texted a simple heart back. Then I lay awake until dawn, trying to articulate what I wanted for my life. Sunday morning, Emily left early. We each gave her a tight hug, and she promised to call once she arrived back at campus. As soon as the sound of her car faded, Anna sank onto the sofa with a sigh. "I miss her already, don't you?" she asked, looking up at me with a soft expression. "Every single day," I said quietly, perched on the arm of the couch. She rested her head on my shoulder for a bit. There was a closeness in that moment, quiet, gentle. She had no idea how many emotional hurdles I was wrestling with. I told myself that one day I might find a way to talk to her about it, to share the curiosity, confusion, and yes, the freedom I felt in that midnight blue dress. But for now, I held my tongue and enjoyed the calm. Anna eventually hopped up to start cleaning. I retreated to my home office, where I spent the rest of the day thinking, searching my mind for answers. By the time I emerged for dinner, I was exhausted from pacing around mentally. When Anna asked if everything was all right, I said I was just worried about a backlog at work. She gave me a gentle pat on the back. My chest constricted with guilt, but I couldn't bring myself to reveal the real reason behind my mood. Over the next few weeks, I found myself increasingly drawn to that dress, trying it on whenever I had an hour alone. I'd lock the bedroom door, slip it on, and study my reflection. It was no longer about a rush of excitement. It had become a moment of quiet reflection, of grappling with the possibility that I might have overlooked a significant part of myself for decades. It felt almost too large a topic to absorb all at once. But these private moments also led to deeper worry. What if Anna found me, or Emily made a surprise visit? My anxious mind composed 1,000 scenarios of being caught. Still, the call was too strong to ignore, so I accepted the risk and continued. One evening, I worked late, and by the time I got home, Anna had already eaten. I picked at leftovers in the fridge and overheard her talking on the phone in the living room. Once her call ended, she joined me at the kitchen table. Her gaze carried concern. "Can we talk for a second?" she asked, voice quiet. My heart pounded. "Sure," I managed. She exhaled, resting her elbows on the table. "I don't want to pry, but you've seemed so distant these days. You keep telling me it's work, or it's Emily leaving, but it feels deeper than that. You barely sleep, and you're constantly in your own head. Are you unhappy? Is there something going on that I should know?" I stared at my half-eaten food, muscles tense. My mind raced with how to respond. I loved her. She was my partner of 24 years, the mother of our child. She deserved honesty. I could see the concern etched in her expression, yet fear knotted my throat. I couldn't speak. After a painfully long pause, I said, "I'm just trying to figure something out. About myself, I guess. It's hard to put into words." She reached out to take my hand. "We've been together for so long. Whatever it is, you can trust me with it." Emotion welled in my chest. I squeezed her hand in return, but the words wouldn't come. "Not yet," I finally whispered, voice trembling. Anna's eyes shimmered with quiet compassion. She nodded. "When you're ready, I'm here." Then she gave my hand a final squeeze and left me to finish my meal. I wished I had the courage to speak right then, but I couldn't form a single coherent sentence about what I was experiencing. Instead, I spent the rest of the evening half lost in thought. Anna didn't press me any further, but I could sense her concern. A thin line of tension had developed between us, a line I had drawn by my reluctance to open up. That weekend, I decided to do something I'd never considered in my life: drive to the nearest department store alone and see if I could pick out a piece of clothing for myself. I wanted something that was actually mine, not borrowed from Emily's closet. The idea made me tremble with worry. What if someone recognized me? What if the cashier gave me a funny look? Yet the thought lingered. Perhaps I could find a quiet moment, choose something subtle, pay, and leave. Anna visited her friend for a few hours on Saturday afternoon, so I seized the chance. I got into my car and drove to a large shopping center a few towns over, where I believed I'd be less likely to run into neighbors. As I walked through racks of women's clothing, my heart thundered in my ears. Shoppers strolled by with their carts, oblivious to my nerves. Cautiously, I browsed dresses, stopping now and then to pretend I was looking for something for my wife. But nobody asked who it was for, and nobody stared. The mannequins displayed a mix of casual and formal outfits: skirts, tops, pants. My hands shook slightly as I ran my fingertips along a simple black dress that looked comfortable and unembellished, a stark contrast to Emily's sparkling prom gown. I found my size, roughly anyway, and carried it to the register. The cashier, a young woman with bright red lipstick, scanned the tag without much reaction. $39.80, she said with a polite smile. I fumbled for my wallet. Thanks, I murmured, handing over my card. I waited, half expecting a question like, "Is this for you?" But no such question came. She simply passed me the receipt and thanked me for shopping there. As I walked out, the bag in my hand, I felt a complicated mix of triumph and anxiety. Sitting in the driver's seat, I glanced at the bag. My hands were shaking. Buying a dress shouldn't feel like climbing a mountain, but to me, it felt huge. I got home before Anna did and hid the bag in a trunk in my home office. Later that night, when she fell asleep, I quietly retrieved the bag and stepped into our guest bathroom, locking the door. I pulled on the black dress, noticing how the fabric clung softly to my frame. It lacked the sparkle of the prom gown, but it was simpler, perhaps more practical. For a moment, I gazed into the mirror, tension dissipating from my shoulders. It felt unexpectedly comforting to wear something actually intended for me. After a few minutes, I tucked it away in the trunk again, returning to bed with my heart still thudding. I lay awake thinking, was I planning to wear it beyond the house? How would I talk to Anna about this? Days passed, and I kept the black dress hidden. Whenever Anna was out running errands, I'd slip it on for a few minutes of quiet reflection. That small act became a routine. My mind swirled with confusion and questions about what all this meant for the life I had built, my marriage, my sense of self. Part of me wanted to push the feelings aside, go back to normal. But I knew that wouldn't be real anymore. Eventually, my restlessness about the secret reached a breaking point. One Friday night, Anna and I were sitting quietly in the living room, the television on a low volume. She was reading a gardening magazine, occasionally chuckling at a tip or trick she found interesting, while I stared blankly at the TV screen. Finally, I muted the volume. She looked up from her magazine in surprise. "Anna," I began slowly, voice trembling slightly. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to bear with me while I figure out the words." Her eyes locked on mine, gentle yet intense. She set the magazine aside. "Take your time." My heart hammered as I confessed. I explained how, after Emily left for college, I found her prom dress in the closet. I admitted that I had tried it on, not just once, but multiple times, and how it brought up memories from my childhood. I confessed that I'd even bought a dress for myself. My words came out haltingly, tinged with embarrassment and relief. Anna listened without interrupting. By the time I finished, my chest felt tight. The silence that followed was thick with tension. I caught her expression shifting, confusion, surprise, concern, and then a careful neutrality. She shifted in her seat, inhaling deeply. "Wow," she said at last, her voice quiet. I had no idea." I nodded, staring at the floor. "I'm sorry I've been so distant. I wasn't sure how to tell you. I've been scared of, well, everything." Her expression softened. "I'm just trying to understand. Is this about something deeper? Or do you just like wearing dresses? Are you unhappy in our marriage? Talk to me." My eyes met hers. "I'm not unhappy with you. Not at all," I said, voice shaking. "You are everything to me. But for a long time, I pushed down these impulses. It started when I was a kid. Then, seeing Emily's dress brought all those memories back. When I wear a dress, I feel a sense of relief, like a weight lifts off my shoulders. I can't fully explain it." She swallowed, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. "And all this time, you never felt you could tell me?" "I was ashamed," I admitted. "I worried it would change how you saw me. I worried you'd think I was I don't know, a different person. But it's still me. My voice faltered, searching for the right words. I need to be honest about it. Anna reached for my hand, gripping it gently. I don't claim to understand this fully, but I'm not going to run away. It's surprising, but we've been partners for so long. I want to be here for you. Just give me time to process, okay? I nodded, tears welling in my eyes. Thank you, I whispered, overcome by both relief and lingering anxiety. She leaned back against the couch cushions, exhaling slowly. I love you, she said. That hasn't changed, but I need to wrap my mind around this. I'm not going to say I instantly get it, but I'm here. Those words, spoken gently in our living room, felt like someone had unlocked a door. I squeezed her hand and let myself cry softly. She moved closer and held me. The TV droned on in the background, but in that moment, the quiet between us was more profound than anything else. In the days that followed, an awkward dance of communication began. Anna had a lot of questions, and I did my best to answer. We tiptoed around each other's vulnerabilities. Sometimes she'd ask if I wanted to show her the black dress I'd purchased, and I'd hesitate, uncertain of how she would react once she actually saw it. Other times, she would stare at me with concern, and I'd sense her wanting to talk, but holding back. I realized she also needed space to grapple with what I had revealed. Our turning point came on a rainy Saturday. The downpour rattled the windows while the sky hung gray and uninviting. We were home alone, and the monotony of the weather seemed to amplify the tension we still felt. After a lunch that we barely touched, Anna set her fork down and asked softly, "Can I see it? The dress you bought?" My chest tightened. Part of me wanted to say no, to hide it away forever. But we had reached a stage where honesty was our best chance to remain strong as a couple. So I nodded, guiding her upstairs. My heart galloped as I retrieved the dress from the trunk in my home office. I showed it to her, letting the black fabric unfold. "It's simple," I said, clearing my throat. She gave a tentative smile, eyes scanning the garment. "May I see you in it?" I swallowed hard, pulse pounding in my ears. "Okay," I said, in a near whisper. I slipped into our bedroom to change, heart racing as I pulled the black dress over my body. My hands shook when I turned the doorknob to step out. There I was, standing before my wife in a piece of clothing I had secretly purchased, revealing a side of myself I'd locked away. Anna's eyes roamed over me, a kaleidoscope of emotions passing across her face. She seemed curious, nervous, and oddly calm at the same time. She gestured for me to come closer. I stood, arms hanging awkwardly at my sides, afraid to make eye contact. Finally, she reached for my hand, guiding me to sit next to her on the edge of the bed. "You look nice," she offered quietly, as if testing the words on her tongue. "How do you feel?" I inhaled, relieved she wasn't recoiling. "I feel calmer, less weighed down," I admitted. "That's the best way I can put it." She nodded, observing my expression carefully. Then, in a gesture that surprised me, she tucked a strand of my hair behind my ear. It was a small, tender motion that made my eyes well up again. She exhaled, giving a fragile smile. "We'll figure this out," she whispered. In that moment, I felt a trembling sense of closeness between us. Nothing about this was easy, but we were facing it together. She squeezed my hand. I couldn't describe how grateful I was, or how terrified. I was stepping into uncharted territory, but at least I wasn't alone. Over the next few weeks, we tried to navigate what normal might mean for us now. Anna encouraged me to be open about when I wanted to wear the dress, or if there were other items I might want. It felt surreal to share such a secret with her, but also incredibly comforting not to lie or hide. I sensed her grappling with her own questions. Did this change her attraction to me? Would this affect our relationship in the long run? Yet, through many hushed conversations, we discovered that our bond remained steadfast. One evening, she brought home a blouse she thought might fit me, a soft lilac color. We sat on the couch, me holding the blouse in my hands, Anna watching me intently. "I thought maybe you could try it," she said, voice tentative. "It might go with the black skirt I found in the attic, one I used to wear years ago but never threw out." Emotion swelled in my chest. "Thank you," I murmured. It was a small step, but a meaningful one. She had chosen to participate in this aspect of my life, even if she remained somewhat unsure of what it all meant. I slipped on the blouse right there, my cheeks flushing as she looked me over. She nodded, offering a gentle smile. "It's not bad, just a little loose around the shoulders," she observed, sounding like she was assessing any shirt in the store. I exhaled, relief mingling with gratitude. "Thanks," I said, blinking rapidly. "I know this might feel strange for you. I appreciate you being here with me." She curled her feet beneath her on the couch, leaning closer. "I won't lie. There are moments I don't know how to feel, but you're my husband, and I love you. I'm trying to support you while still sorting out my own reactions. We can keep talking." We stayed up late that night, discussing the little details of life that had nothing to do with clothing, reminding ourselves that, after all these years, we had a history that anchored us. There was comfort in remembering that our connection was bigger than any single issue. But reality had its ways of interfering. One afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from Emily. "Hey Dad, rooming situation changed. Might come home next weekend and pick up some of my stuff." Instantly, I felt a flood of anxiety. Emily would be under the same roof again. The prom dress still hung in her closet, though I no longer touched it. My own items, including the black dress and the lilac blouse, were carefully stored in my trunk. But what if she stumbled upon them somehow? The thought made my stomach churn. I told Anna about Emily's text, and she rested a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "We'll just keep your things in your trunk, right? I doubt she'll go searching in there." "I know," I replied, but my nerves didn't ease. It wasn't just about hiding clothing. It was about hiding an entire part of myself from our daughter. I trusted Emily's openness and her love for me, but how would she react? The stakes felt impossibly high. That weekend, Emily arrived, bright-eyed as always. She hugged me and Anna, setting her duffel bag in the hallway. She talked a mile a minute about her new dorm arrangement. "Dad, can you help me move some boxes from the garage? I might need to bring a few more things back to campus now that I've switched rooms." Her request was innocuous, but my nerves spiked. I forced a quick smile. "Sure, let's do it." We spent an hour hauling her old desk lamp, extra blankets, and some books into her car. At one point, she said casually, "Oh, I also realized I might need that formal dress I wore last year. Not the prom one, but remember that navy one I wore to that wedding? I think it might be in the attic." My throat constricted. "You're sure it's not in your closet?" "I don't think so," she said, shaking her head. "But I'll check the closet anyway, just in case. No big deal if I can't find it." I watched her walk into the house, my heart pounding again. A few minutes later, I mustered the courage to follow her. I found her in her room, flipping through hangers. She glanced over at me with a grin. "You look a little worried, Dad. I'm not a burglar rummaging through stuff, I promise." I let out a breathy laugh. "I know, I just haven't been in your room much since you left." That wasn't a lie, but I also couldn't stand there watching her dig through the closet. Every rustle of hangers made my anxiety spike. She pushed aside the midnight blue dress, the very one I used to try on, and moved on to other outfits. Nothing seemed out of place to her. Finally, she shrugged. "No sign of it. Must be in the attic. I'll check there later. My chest loosened. Let me know if you need help, I said, stepping out of the room. I moved down the hallway and exhaled slowly, relief washing through me as I heard her rummaging in the closet without any outcry or confusion. Emily ended up finding the navy wedding outfit in a spare bin in the attic as expected. She spent the rest of the day organizing her things. That evening, Anna prepared a family dinner. We sat around the table, each sharing stories. Emily recounted funny moments from her new dorm. Anna talked about a client she'd helped in her volunteer program. I mostly listened, oddly quiet. But beneath the calm surface, I was aware of the fragile balance we maintained. After Emily returned to college, Anna and I resumed our cautious new routine. Some days, she'd ask if I wanted a moment to myself in our bedroom, and I'd nod, stepping into that personal space to wear the black dress or the lilac blouse for a while. We still hadn't ventured beyond the house with any of these garments, and that felt right for now. One step at a time. One afternoon, while I was in the bedroom wearing the black dress, I heard the door open. I looked up, startled. Anna stood there, leaning against the doorway. She gave me a small smile. I just wanted to see how you look in it again, she said. My pulse quickened, but I gestured for her to come in. She sat on the edge of the bed, studying me. You do look comfortable, she observed. I shifted from foot to foot, then sat down beside her. It's become part of my routine, I guess, I said quietly. It's strange to think I spent decades ignoring this. She placed a hand on my knee. We can't change the past. We can only move forward. Her words were simple, but they carried a weight that eased my tension. The closeness in that moment was more profound than I could have expected. She saw me in a way no one else had, and she was staying. I couldn't help but feel an overwhelming appreciation for her. Still, deeper questions lurked, and we both knew it. Anna couldn't help but wonder what this meant for our long-term path. One evening we discussed whether or not I would ever speak with Emily about what I was going through. The idea terrified me, but Anna pointed out that if it was something that mattered so much to me, our daughter might sense it sooner or later. I dreaded the moment I'd have that talk with Emily. While she was open-minded, I feared how she would see me, whether it would shake her view of the father she had always known. It was an issue I wasn't ready to face. Anna agreed not to push, but she also said gently, "You might find peace if you don't hide from her forever." I nodded, hearing the truth in her words but not yet ready to confront it. Another topic that arose was whether I felt a need to purchase more clothing or present myself differently in daily life. I admitted I didn't know where the line was. I liked wearing dresses at home in private moments, but I wasn't prepared for public scenarios, nor was I certain if that was a place I wanted to go. Anna seemed relieved that we were on the same page about taking it slow. Through it all, we continued our ordinary routines: grocery shopping on Saturdays, paying bills on time, attending a friend's birthday party. Underneath the everyday normalcy was this new shared understanding, fragile but genuine, that added a layer of complexity to our days. Sometimes I wondered if people around us noticed subtle changes, but nobody said anything. Our little secret stayed hidden within the walls of our home. Weeks slipped into months. Emily was thriving at college, occasionally returning home for short breaks. Each time I locked away my dresses carefully, making sure our house returned to the familiar place she remembered. Anna and I tiptoed around the topic until Emily left again, though now and then Anna would ask how I felt about telling her. My nerves never subsided, so we continued to put it off. One quiet Sunday afternoon, I was folding laundry in the bedroom while Anna read a book in the living room. The late autumn sun streamed through the windows, and there was a sense of stillness about the day. My phone buzzed. Emily calling from college. "Hey, Dad," came her warm voice. "I was just checking in. How are you and Mom?" I smiled, feeling my heart lift. "We're good, just a quiet Sunday. How about you?" We chatted about her classes, her friends, how she was learning to cook in the dorm kitchen. Then she hesitated. "Dad, is everything okay with you? I don't mean to pry, but you've felt distant sometimes, even over the phone." I froze. She couldn't possibly know about my private situation, unless Anna had slipped up, which I highly doubted. Yet Emily had always been intuitive. My mind raced for how to answer. "I'm all right," I managed, a slight quiver in my voice. "I'm just older, I guess. Missing you, adjusting to the quiet house." She was silent for a moment. "Okay, well, I love you. I'm here if you ever want to talk." My chest tightened with emotion. "I love you too, kiddo," I said softly. We exchanged goodbyes, and I ended the call with trembling fingers. That conversation stuck with me for hours afterward. Emily had offered me an opening, but my fear kept me from seizing it. That evening, as we were getting ready for bed, I mentioned the call to Anna. She listened, brushing her teeth in front of the sink. Once she was done, she turned to face me. "She's sensing something's different," Anna said quietly. "Maybe it's time." "Maybe," I conceded, swallowing. "But not yet. I can't find the words." She nodded, her expression understanding but concerned. I turned off the bathroom light, and we settled into bed. Sleep came slowly, my mind cycling through possible ways to speak to Emily, none of them satisfying. During the weeks that led up to the winter holidays, life took on a new routine. Work stayed busy. Anna and I prepared gifts for Emily, and in the evenings I sometimes wore my black dress or tried on the lilac blouse. Anna and I found a cautious equilibrium. She didn't always join me in those moments, but she no longer acted surprised or uneasy. We had awkward days where we hardly spoke of it, and other days where we talked for hours about our feelings. Each conversation helped us discover a new dimension of trust, though I still felt the weight of the secret we kept from Emily. As winter break approached, Emily announced she'd be home for a full 2 weeks. The thought simultaneously thrilled me. Long dinners, holiday traditions, the family bond we cherished, and filled me with apprehension. 2 whole weeks sharing the same space, with dresses hidden in my office trunk. Anna and I whispered about it one night, deciding I would keep my items locked away as usual. There was no reason to risk an unexpected discovery. "But," Anna added, "if it happens, it happens. We can face it together." Emily arrived in a swirl of excitement, greeting us with hugs, suitcases, and stories from the semester. For the first few days, the house was full of laughter. We decorated for the holidays, watched old movie marathons, and baked cookies. I felt more relaxed, focusing on our family traditions and less on my hidden garments. Yet, on the 4th day of her visit, something unexpected happened. Anna invited Emily to help clear out the guest bedroom closet, where we stored old coats and random boxes. It was a spur-of-the-moment decision, something about making space for extra holiday guests or decluttering. I was busy in the kitchen, slicing vegetables for dinner, when a sudden jolt of alarm ran through me. My black dress and the lilac blouse weren't in the guest closet, but the trunk in my office was just a few feet away from that closet, if by chance they decided to rummage further. I quickly wiped my hands on a towel and hurried upstairs. I found Anna and Emily knee-deep in old coats, rummaging for items to donate. Thankfully, the trunk was still closed. I hovered in the doorway, watching them. The trunk was an old family heirloom, and I often joked it was full of keepsakes. I wasn't lying. There were a few old photos and mementos in there, in addition to my clothing. If Emily got curious enough to open it, all would be revealed. Anna glanced over at me, reading the anxiety in my eyes. "Hey," she said, "we're just seeing if there's anything in here worth donating. We haven't gone near your old trunk, don't worry." My mouth felt dry, but I forced a chuckle. "Ah, the trunk of mysteries. Good luck with the coats," I quipped. Emily seemed distracted by a box of random gloves, so she didn't notice the tension between me and her mother. I offered to take some items to the car, anything to get them out of the room faster. Emily handed me an armful of puffy jackets and scarves. I hustled them downstairs, heart pounding. By the time I returned, they had finished up and closed the closet. The trunk remained undisturbed. Relief flooded me, though I realized how incredibly fragile the situation was. Another few days passed without incident. Emily enjoyed her winter break, spending time with old friends and occasionally joining us for holiday get-togethers with extended family. On the second to last day of her visit, after a lovely dinner, she plopped onto the couch while Anna and I tidied up the kitchen. Sensing a quiet moment, I leaned against the counter. "Anna," I began, voice low, "I've been thinking about telling Emily. Maybe not tonight, but soon." She turned to me, a mix of worry and relief in her eyes. "Only do it if you're ready," she said softly. "I won't force you, but I also think she'd understand. She loves you. She's an adult now." I nodded, my chest tight. "I know. I'm still scared." Anna gave me a brief, reassuring hug. "Then wait until you're certain." We joined Emily in the living room making small talk. I studied her face, her eyes shining with curiosity about life, her easy laugh whenever one of us said something funny. I wrestled with the urge to protect that image of her father she had always known. Telling her felt like stepping off a cliff, uncertain of the landing, but I realized that being open might be one of the few ways to form a deeper, more honest connection. For that night, I let the topic lie. The next morning, Emily began packing her things, preparing to return to campus. There were some final errands to run, so Anna offered to drive her to pick up a few groceries for her dorm. I stayed behind, planning to give myself a moment to think before she left for another semester. I wandered into the living room, scanning the holiday decorations, which suddenly felt lonely now that her departure was close. Eventually, I mustered the resolve to head upstairs. I opened the trunk in my office, lifting the black dress. I held it in my hands, thinking about how much this small piece of fabric had transformed my inner world. Then I heard the front door open. My heart jumped. I quickly set the dress back in the trunk, but I hadn't locked it yet. Before I could click the latch, Emily's voice echoed downstairs, calling out, "Dad?" I froze. "Up here," I called back, fighting to keep my voice steady. Her footsteps came up the stairs. "Mom forgot her wallet. She's rummaging for it in the car, but I left my phone in the house. I just need to grab—" The office door, wide open, framed me in front of the trunk. She stopped mid-sentence when she saw my expression. Slowly, her gaze traveled to the half-closed trunk, the edge of black fabric peeking out. Confusion, curiosity, and concern flickered across her face. "Dad? What's that?" she asked, stepping closer. My mouth went dry. This was the moment I had been dreading for months. I tried to close the lid, but that felt like a guilty move. She was already looking right at it. With shaking hands, I exhaled, deciding I couldn't run anymore. I began softly, my voice quivering. "There's something I need to tell you." She stared at me, her eyes darting to the trunk again. "Are those clothes?" she asked, voice tinged with confusion. I nodded, trying to steady myself. "Yes, they're mine." Her forehead creased. "But they look like women's clothes. Wait, She swallowed, stepping closer. What's going on? I sank onto the small chair near the trunk, heart pounding. I like wearing dresses sometimes, I said, struggling to keep my voice level. Your prom dress in the closet. It started as a simple moment of curiosity, but it opened something in me. I was scared to tell you. I've been worried about your reaction. Emily stood still, her eyes wide. She glanced at the trunk, then back at me. So you've been doing this for how long? She asked, her tone gentle but clearly shocked. I shrugged slightly, rubbing my hands together. I tried on your grandmother's clothes once when I was a kid. I suppressed the urge for decades, but after you left for college, I saw your dress and couldn't ignore how right it felt to put it on. She lowered herself to the floor, crossing her legs, still absorbing my words. After a moment, she looked up at me, eyes full of mixed emotions. Dad, I don't know what to say. It's a lot to take in. I felt tears prick my eyes. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I've been so afraid you'd think less of me, or that it'd confuse you. She blinked back her own tears. I'm not mad. Confused, yes. Surprised, definitely. But you're still my dad. That hasn't changed. She paused, chewing on her lip. Mom knows, right? I nodded. Yes, she's known for a while. We've been dealing with it quietly. She let out a slow breath. I wish you would have trusted me, but I get why you were scared. Her voice shook. I love you. You're my father. That doesn't go away because you like dresses. My chest constricted with gratitude and relief. Tears gathered in my eyes, and I tried to speak, but my throat closed up. Emily stood, moving closer. She crouched beside me, wrapping her arms around my shoulders. I hugged her back, letting out the breath I'd been holding for so long. We stayed there, locked in that embrace, until we heard Anna calling from downstairs. Emily stood up and wiped her eyes, calling back, Coming, Mom! She looked at me one more time, the trunk still open behind me. I'll call you later, okay? We'll talk more. I just need a little time to process. But I'm not going anywhere. I nodded, my chest tight. Thank you, Emily. She gave a small nod and left to rejoin Anna outside. I heard the car pull away. I sank back into the chair, a wave of relief mixed with swirling emotion. It was out now, no more secrets with my daughter. I felt both exposed and strangely lighter. Emily texted me that evening from her dorm, as promised. She said she was a bit overwhelmed, but she still cared about me and wanted to understand. I told her I would respect whatever pace she needed. She sent a heart emoji, just as she always did. That night, after Anna and I ate dinner, I told her what happened. She listened intently, relief flooding her face when she realized that Emily's reaction had been caring. We talked well into the night, wondering what the future might look like for all three of us. There was no immediate blueprint, but we felt united in a new way. I think our family's going to be okay, Anna said softly, squeezing my hand. I nodded, tears threatening to spill. Yeah, I said, choking up slightly. I think so too. In the months that followed, I continued to navigate this aspect of myself more openly, at least within the walls of our home. Conversations with Emily, through calls and visits, grew more candid. She asked questions, some of which I couldn't fully answer, but we handled them one at a time, with honesty guiding us. She even joked once that I could have just asked for fashion advice, and we both laughed until we cried, relieving some of the tension. Anna and I grew closer through the process. Though there were days she felt uncertain and worried about how our extended family might react, she continued to show kindness and patience. We did small things together, like browsing clothes online when we were curious, or just sitting and talking about the future. Our life wasn't perfect, and I wouldn't pretend that all confusion vanished overnight. Yet there was a genuine warmth that bloomed in our household, a sense that nothing was taboo between us anymore. We each carried our own concerns, but we carried them together. One Saturday afternoon, while Anna was out grocery shopping, I found myself in front of the mirror wearing the black dress. I stood there for a long time, thinking about where I'd been a year earlier, how I'd felt stuck, so afraid to confront a side of myself that had always existed just beneath the surface. The memory of that first time in Emily's midnight blue prom dress flickered through my mind. I felt a surge of gratitude for how far things had come, for the openness my family now showed me. I still don't have all the answers, but at 52 years old, with a marriage spanning almost 25 years and a daughter forging her path in college, I have found a place where I can breathe freely. My reflection in the mirror wears a simple black dress. The face in that reflection is lined with the experiences of life, touched by uncertainty, love, and a quiet sense of relief. And though the journey continues, I no longer carry this secret alone. When Anna came home with groceries, she found me in the bedroom, still in that dress, a soft smile on my face. She set the grocery bags down and stepped closer. Without a word, she reached for my hand. We stood there together, letting the moment speak for itself. Then she leaned in and gave me a tender, wordless hug. That's where I am now, embracing the questions I once ran from, navigating uncharted waters, but with the people I love at my side. And for the first time, I don't feel that door inside me is locked. Instead, it stands open, letting in the light of an ordinary day, illuminating a part of myself that at last can be acknowledged with honesty and care.
Did you like the story? Hit that like button and tell me what you thought in the comments. Do you want to hear more stories? Subscribe and hit the bell. For exclusive content and early access, check out our Patreon. You can find the link in the description, or you can watch any of the videos shown on my right. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.